138. That's a lot to come. But let's say hello to our sponsors and 138.com. Turn your passion into some real cash. Make a move to 138.com, the best online sports betting and virtual gaming company in town. Introducing our online casino as well. Now register and bet with us to enjoy 200% bonus on your first deposit on www.138.com. Feel the taste of best odds, endless markets and prompt payments. Live in-play betting. Enjoy unbeatable odds boost for all major leagues and Champions League matches. 138.com is licensed and regulated by the Gaming Commission of Ghana. Please not for persons under 18 years. Bet responsibly. Join the winning team now. 138.com. Win every day. All right, so it's just time to do the sport, and where do we start from this afternoon? We'll start from rugby and straight in Tunisia, because after several months of hard work and sacrifice, the Eagles of Ghana are ready to show the stuff they're made up of at this year's Rugby Africa Men's Sevens tournament. Now, Ghana, who qualified as one of the top 12 teams, must shrug off the challenge of defending champions Uganda and emerging for Senegal in Pool B of the tournament. Now, the team spent almost a week in Tunisia, fine-tuning their preparations ahead of the big tournament. The Eagles, who are ninth in the tournament rankings, are buoyed by the success at this year's Bronze Cup. But technical advisor Colin Osborne is being cautiously optimistic, and just a good time to hear from him.
Training now for a number of months, and specifically I've been involved with a 3-week camp where we saw a huge commitment to training in terms of quality and quantity. Since we're now assembled in Tunis, we have tapered down, so our sessions are much shorter, and we're just getting ready for match day. We're well aware of the enormity of the challenge ahead of us. We're in a group with two of the strongest teams in Africa. Uganda, our first opponents, are the champions from last year. Senegal are one of the rising teams in the region. So it's we are very much the underdogs, but with that, it means there's no pressure on us. So all the pressure is on them to perform. We can just go out there and give it everything, and which we will. I'm absolutely confident the guys will give it their best shot. They've worked extremely hard. They're very, very proud of where they've got to. They're very, very proud of the privilege that's been granted them to represent Ghana. And I'm confident, absolutely confident, they will acquit themselves to the best of their ability. Having said that, we're under no illusions about how difficult it's going to be, because these are some very, very good teams in this competition. But as I said, they're well prepared, they work very, very hard, and if we can deliver that hard work, that real high work ethic, and a determination to play for each other and give our best, I'm confident we will acquit ourselves well.
All right, so we look forward to what the Eagles of Ghana will be able to do there. Remember, they face Uganda, just as Osborne gave us the indication there, in Pool B, and that's the opener. There's going to be a massive opener there as they play Uganda in that. And the 2018 Rugby Africa Men's Sevens. The tournament comes off then between October 13th and 14th in Monastir, Tunisia. More coming your way there, but we have to talk a little bit of the Youth Olympics ongoing in Buenos Aires, Argentina. And remember, the struggle is real for a medal so far as Ghana is concerned in the 6-day competition in Buenos Aires. Now, Abeko Jackson came close to winning a medal in swimming, but yet he was so far after failing to, get what he needed to make it into the final. Solomon Diafo is Ghana's remaining medal hopeful in 400 meters, and it remains to be seen if he does clinch it. Baba Tando is in Buenos Aires, in there for the tournament, of course, and she joins me online with some interesting, perspective to all of this. Baba, thank you very much for joining me live on the Locker Room and all the way from Argentina. How are you doing, Baba?
I am fine, except that I miss home food. Everything is okay. I just miss home food. That's all.
Well, that's great. And I know the tournament's not over, but so far we've been enjoying wonderful reports from you inside Argentina. So let's talk about it, because I know for a fact you've told us we've had no medals so far. But can you remind us of the little gains in the various competitions for Team Ghana? I know you've been talking about some personal bests and stuff. What have we got in terms of little gains?
Right, so we started the competition officially on Sunday with the beach volleyball pair of Kelvin Cabo and Eric Chachu. They met one of the stiffest oppositions right on Sunday in their first game, and it was against Hungary, who come in as one of the best in Europe and one of the best in the world indeed. And Ghana struggled a little bit, but they found their rhythm, and save for a few, communication mistakes and a few times when they the two boys lost concentration. Things would have been okay, but we ended up losing that game by 2 straight sets to nothing. And then on the following day, they had to go back and play against Monaco. Monaco actually lost to Costa Rica in their first game, and we worked on our mistakes and corrected all our communication errors here and there, put everything together, and then the guys, built up their determination, and they persevered on the beach volleyball court, and they went ahead to beat Monaco by 2 sets to 1. That was also a struggle, but it was fine. I mean, you lose some, you win some, and then you do your best
to win, yeah.
To clinch the ultimate. So they beat Monaco in that second game. And then it was a turn of Prema Abeku Jackson. He began with a 100-meter butterfly. And George, let me tell you that sometimes even how you see some of these athletes dressed, walking in the Olympic Village can deter you. It can intimidate you. Abeku Jackson got into the aquatic center, and the opposition was huge.
Yeah.
It was. But the thing is, he swam and got his personal best. He placed second in his heat. But unfortunately, it's just one person from each heat that qualifies to the next stage, which is the semi-final. So you do your heat, you go to the semi-final, and then you get a place in the final. Abeku Jackson, qualified, but he was on the reserve list and had to wait for 2 people not to show up, probably go for different events, so he could, take one of the 2 reserve places for the semi-final slot available. But that was not free, so he was unable to progress. And quickly, he put himself back in shape and focused on the next competition, which was the 50-meter butterfly. He went there, put up his best. He didn't get a personal best, though, but he put up his best, and then he was also second in that heat. But that gave him a qualification slot to the semi-final of the 50-meter slot. And once again, the bar was raised high again, and Abeku could not meet that bar that was raised, so he couldn't get to the final of the 50-meter men's butterfly event. But he learned quite a lot, especially from the 100-meter butterfly, where he got a new personal best. And then in the 50-meter also, he got a lot of opposition, especially from these 15 Europeans who don't joke at all with these competitions. So, you could tell from everything that happened to, Abeku and the beach volleyball team that it boils down to training, to preparation.
Yeah.
But you can't have people being in Rio de Janeiro for 2 months ahead of this tournament, and then you leave straight from Ghana 3-4 days after camping, 4 or 5 days after camping, and expect to come and make magic. It doesn't happen like that anywhere. So these boys, if they had good preparations, they
probably would have done better.
But it didn't happen. Exactly. And then we moved yesterday was the biggest day for Ghana, because there were 3 events for us. The day was starting with Sandra Mensma Owusu. Sandra did her best in the weightlifting category, but there were some 3 giants over there. Look, the day before yesterday's interview, she spoke to me and said, look, there are some 3 people. These people are going to place first, second, third. It will be Tunisia first, Egypt second, and USA third, because I have met these people in competitions and I know what they can do. Where they go to train, the things they train with, what the facilities they train with, and the kind of food and conditioning they are put in before competitions. I don't have even -5 of that. I don't have, but I will try and do my best that I can. And true to her word, the Tunisian Gofam Fakir was first, and then the Egyptian came second, and then the USA girl Peyton, she was third. Just as Sandra has told me. But the good thing for Sandra was that she has never lifted beyond 60 kilograms. She has never lifted beyond 60 kilograms. But yesterday she went as far as to 77 kilograms. And she managed to go to the 80 kilograms, but she wasn't able to lift. And of course, we also know what the reason for that was. It also boiled down
to preparation, clearly.
You know, and good conditioning, like she told me. And then the beach volleyball also finally ended their day with their second loss in the preliminary stage. They lost to Costa Rica, but they have a chance because, you know, in football, that's two countries, but then you go to the round of 16 and then you go to the 1/8 stage and all of that. But in volleyball, the format has changed a little bit. So from the round of 32, you go to the round of 24. They collect all of the preliminary stage results, and then once you get a good ratio, apart from the countries that obviously first and second in their group or in their pools, once you get a good ratio as a third best, one of the third best qualifying countries, then you can progress to the 124th stage. So it's not over entirely for volleyball. They may have a chance if they have a good point ratio. And our only medal hopeful now is Solomon Diafo. Look, the guy told me that he was going to do everything possible to return to Ghana with a medal. And he proved that yesterday. Save for the weather. Look, this guy has been training in 24 degrees, 22 degrees, 20 degrees Celsius. That's the training temperatures that he had before yesterday's event. And only for us to get to the athletics track yesterday and be soaked in rain in a temperature of 10 degrees. It was crazy. And this gentleman was shaking. I mean, he was visibly shaking. He knew all hopes were lost. But I think there's some special determination and motivation that this guy has. He persevered so much. He got onto the track and said, God, I didn't come here to fail. I want to prove a point to Ghanaians back home. He went and he placed third in his heat, and he had the 8th best time. And that gave him a slot to the grand finale on Sunday. The guy says, look, Sunday, I know, have you checked? He asked if I had checked the weather for Sunday because usually I give him the weather information. I said, yes, I have checked it. It will be 24 degrees Celsius. Then he said, look, Baba, you are taking the medal. And I believe in him because, look, he has this special determination. Nobody knows where he gets his motivation from, but he's really determined. And I know on Sunday he's going to persevere and then will not lose out on a medal in the 400-meter event.
Well, really, you know, this happens to be the preview show. Thank you very much for taking us through everything that happened. But just to stick on Solomon Diafo, because he happens to be the only medal, faithful or hopeful for us there. So the question is, how real is a setback? You know, you were talking about the temperature. I agree, yes. 8 degrees to what we've been enjoying here in Ghana, 30, sometimes 25, 27. It could be really, really a massive setback. But do you think on Sunday, if he has all the conditions right, he can win something?
Look, Solomon ran with a guy from, I think the guy who won in Solomon's heat was American. And he had a 47.58.
Yeah.
He won with a time of 47.58. Solomon ran with, look, he did not even make his personal best yesterday. His personal best is not beyond 48 seconds. And once the weather is good, trust me, he didn't expect this weather. And I'm sure that we haven't experienced this weather in Argentina. If we had, I'm sure he was going to train in this kind of in the 10-degree temperature weather and was going to do his best. And let me say that Solomon is the second African. There are only two Africans who have qualified for the final event, Zambia, and then we also have Solomon. If the temperatures remain at between 20 and 24, even if it goes to 18 degrees, look, George, I am sure, I am certain, I can bank my hopes on Solomon Diafo that he's going to come home with a medal. The weather temperature, thankfully, will be at 24 degrees Celsius on Sunday, and that is close to what we experienced in Ghana. Right. And so, 24 degrees Celsius, Solomon has a good start, he has a good finish. He's going to come home with a medal.
Right, thank you very much, Baba, for joining us. At least if we didn't have any medal, we know you'll be coming back with a reporting medal. You've been doing a fantastic job out there. I hope to hear from you. Thank you so much, Baba Tando, right from Argentina, Buenos Aires. Now, we have to talk about what's happening here. We have to switch a bit and talk about the Black Stars because the Ghana Premier League giants, Kumasi Asante Kotoko, will have the rare opportunity to play the Black Stars in some 3 hours at the Baba Yara Stadium in Kumasi. Now, this arrangement has come about because the African qualifier that was expected to be between Ghana and Sierra Leone was called off, and you know why. Now, so what will be running through the minds of the players and fans who have barely tasted football action, on the local scene for close to 5 months? Now, Love FM's Kelvin Owusu-Ansah is in Kumasi and has been gauging the mood ahead of this wonderful game. Interesting.
Stars of Ghana have now switched attention to local giants Kumasi Asante Kotoko for a friendly at the Barbara Sports Stadium after the 2019 Africa Cup of Nations qualifying games against Sierra Leone was cancelled. Ahead of the game, coach C.K. Akono, newly appointed coach for Kumasi Asante Kotoko, has asked his men to keep it cool even though it's the Black Stars.
It's funny you ask that question because I told them not to kick, because sometimes they are motivated because it's Black Stars and they shouldn't do that. They should play football. They should try to understand what they are doing at every given time, and so I'm looking forward to that. My focus again is only on that. How do you work? Players tend to work when they lose possession, and I don't want that. Once you lose possession, you have to be organized, and so I'll be looking forward to. I will look deep into my players, what they do when we have the ball, when we don't have the ball, and see how they react.
C.K. Akono seems not to be in a rush, but that is not the idea of the management, who believe that their team should be able to stand the might of the Black Star. And this is explained by Safuduku, communications director of the club.
We've indicated to him that in our time, there will be nothing like a friendly match. All our matches are treated equally, as if we were playing in a Champions League final. The essence is to inculcate that habit in him so that he goes into all football matches with the seriousness that they deserve. So we are not living in this 2-10, and he is very much aware of this declaration that management has made that there is nothing like a friendly match in our time.
There's a mixed reaction between the fans of Asante Kotoko and the Kumasi football family. This is what they had to say about the friendly, which comes off later today.
The qualities here. As a woman or one of the way of saying ahead of him that and see, there are many chances. Into a moment, just take one man Kotoko didn't see. I know Kotoko is a better team. We have a quality players who can play better for us. We are going to win, to score them. Even one nil goal, we are going to score them because I know my striker. So
the Black Stars, them no say play go bring out something. At least make them test the team. Make we see say if we day former, then we already hope say no hard tackles and all that. But actually, this might be should have been necessary for them.
This Kotoko Black Stars game, I don't see anything wrong with this match. I think it's good exercise for both teams because it will serve as a trial match for them, for the coaches to select the right material for their.
Kelvin Owusu there with that report, and so we look forward to that game. Now, no Black Stars in this weekend's Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers, but of course, no less interesting games. And we have to get straight to Selwyn Saki, who has put together a wonderful report on what to expect around the continent.
Former continental champion Zambia held out for a 2-1 home win over Guinea-Bissau in Ondola on Wednesday to record their first Group K qualifying victory for the 2019 African Cup of Nations. Defender Stopila Sunzu and striker Justin Shonga scored on both sides of the break to allow Zambia to advance to 4 points from 3 games, sharing top place in the group alongside Guinea-Bissau and Mozambique. Earlier on Wednesday, Ethiopia and Kenya drew 0-0 at a new stadium in Bahir Dar in Group F to kick off 7 successive days of qualifying ties for the expanded 24-team finals next year. The two countries will lock horns again in the 4th round of their 2019 AFCON qualifiers when they clash in Kenya on October 14th. Sierra Leone's African Cup of Nations qualifier against Ghana and Kumasi will not go ahead on Thursday after the country's football association failed to get a FIFA suspension lifted. Sierra Leone's authorities, who had petitioned FIFA to get the ban lifted, did not meet a Tuesday deadline to reinstate ousted Football Association President Aisha Johansson, who's accused of corruption by government officials. On Thursday, Congo hosts Liberia in Brazzaville in Group G in the only qualified schedule, but there are 11 matches on both Friday and Saturday as the preliminary campaign reaches the halfway mark. The top 2 finishers in the 12 groups qualify for the finals to be held in Cameroon from June 15 to July 13. Senegal will take on Sudan in the 2019 African Cup of Nations qualification Group A match at the Stade Leopold Sedar Senghor in Dakar on Saturday. Kickoff is at 9 p.m. The Lions of Teranga extended their winless run to 3 games in all competitions when they surprisingly drew 2-2 with Madagascar away in their previous Group A match last month. The draw left the West African Giants placed at the top of the group standings with 4 points from 2 games. They are only above second place Madagascar on goal difference. Meanwhile, Sudan remained winless in Group A, having lost 1-0 to Equatorial Guinea away in the previous game last month. The defeat led the East African side place 4th in the group standings without a single point from 2 games. They are 3 points behind 3rd place Equatorial Guinea. Sudan head coach Zdravko Lugarosic has insisted his side will play without pressure against match fancy Senegal side. Cameroon will face off with Malawi in the 2019 African Cup of Nations qualification Group B match at the Stade Ahmadou Ahidjo in Yaoundé on Friday. Kickoff is at 4:30 p.m. The Indomitable Lions, who have already qualified for the finals by virtue of being tournament's host, drew 1-1 with Comoros away in their previous Group B match last month. The draw left the African Giants placed at the top of group standings with 4 points from 2 games. They are only a point above second place Morocco. Meanwhile, Malawi will be desperate for a victory as they lost 3-0 to Morocco away in their previous Group B match last month. The defeat left the Southern African side placed third on the group standings with 3 points from 2 games. They are 2 points above 4th place Comoros. Ivory Coast will lock horns with Central African Republic in the 2019 African Cup of Nations qualification Group H match at the Stade Bouaké in Bouaké on Friday. Kickoff is at 7 p.m. The Elephants are heading into this game oozing with confidence, having secured a 2-1 win over Rwanda at home in their previous Group H encounter last month. The win took the West African Giants to second place on the group standings with 3 points from 2 games. They are 3 points behind the leaders, Guinea. Ivory Coast head coach Ibrahim Kamara included Chelsea FC Academy goalkeeper Nicolas Thier in his squad for the 2 clashes with Central African Republic. However, the 17-year-old player has since revealed on social media that he has withdrawn from the squad as he's still recovering from an injury. However, the Elephants, who won the 2015 AFCON title in Equatorial Guinea, will be boosted by Crystal Palace forward Wilfred Zaha's return to the national team. Meanwhile, Central African Republic are wounded as they lost 1-0 to Guinea away in their previous Group H match last month. The defeat left the Central African side placed third on the group standings with 3 points from 2 games. They are 3 points above 4th place Rwanda. Central African Republic head coach Raoul Savoy has finally welcomed Valencia midfielder Geoffrey Kondogbia to the national team. The French-born midfield maestro committed his international future to the Central African Republic last month, having won 2013 FIFA Under-20 World Cup title with a European country. The return leg between Ivory Coast and Central African Republic will be played at the Barthélemy Bokanda Stadium in Bangui next week.
So Insaki there with a report, and we look forward to everything that happens on the continent. We'll also be going elsewhere to talk about the UEFA Nations League. Before all of that, the BBC Joy Sports two-way series. Mas Farouki was standing by. Thanks for your time this weekend, and let's begin with Chelsea's Eden Hazard, who has openly declared his willingness to move to Madrid after just 8 games in the English Premier League. Well, how much of pressure has he brought on himself going forward? And will the out-of-form Madrid be lured to make a swoop attempt in January?
Well, as you say, you're right. Earlier this month, he did say that joining Real Madrid has been a dream of his since he was a kid. And the background to this is because Eden Hazard's current contract at Chelsea at the Premier League side runs out in the summer of 2020. So at the end of next season, as it stands, obviously the club will be keen to tie him in to a new contract. But Real have done this before to one of Chelsea's players. They've poached a player before in the final year of the contract. They did a similar thing with Thibaut Courtois, their goalkeeper, if you remember, in the last season or so. And at the moment, as we say, Hazard's stock has never been higher. At his press conference with his Belgium international side on Thursday, plenty of people, plenty of journalists were asking him whether he believes he's the best player in the world at the moment on his current form. And many believe that he is, and that's because he's the top scorer in the Premier League as it stands. He scored 7 goals for Chelsea in the Premier League and helped them to continue their unbeaten start in the Premier League. But also in that press conference yesterday, Hazard said that he wouldn't be leaving Chelsea in January. It's believed his family are very happy and settled in London, and he obviously has a lot of affection for the club as well. But he did admit that he might need to move to a club in Spain at some point to win the coveted Ballon d'Or award, an award for the best player in the world. So that the move from Chelsea isn't on the cards at the moment, it would seem, but probably not off completely, just not at the moment.
Well, is everything just okay with Liverpool? After the attacking Reds, as we've come to know them, and the club registered just 3 shots on target after 270 minutes of football, and also salvaged a lucky draw at Anfield against City.
Yeah, you're right. They almost lost that game against Manchester City on Sunday. We all gave it the big build-up, didn't we? And it took until the 62nd minute for either side to register a shot on target in that game. So it wasn't just a poor performance from Liverpool, it has to be said. It wasn't a great performance from City either, but they still City still probably could have had the win. Riyad Mahrez missed a penalty in the final few minutes after Virgil van Dijk brought down Leroy Sané in the box. But he blasted that penalty over the bar. Sergio Aguero wasn't on the pitch. He normally takes City's penalties. He'd already been substituted. Mahrez has actually missed 4 of his last 6 penalty attempts. So it is a bit curious as to why he was actually nominated to take that penalty for City. As we say, stuttering displays from both sides really on Sunday. Liverpool were very well drilled, it must be said. And I think Jurgen Klopp was more concerned about missing out on the point rather than gambling on trying to get the 3. So his side, though, still unbeaten in the league, as we say, along with Chelsea, Liverpool, Chelsea and City, the side still unbeaten in the league. I don't think there's a need to panic yet for Liverpool fans. That was just 2 very good sides on Sunday, seemingly cancelling each other out.
International football and Jurgen Klopp openly criticised the UEFA Nations League, complaining about the competitiveness of the tournament, almost snuffing out the experiment window for coaches and raising the risk of players getting injured. Do you agree with him?
This is an age-old argument, isn't it, for club managers, really? They always have concern about the welfare of their players when the international breaks come around. With the form that Liverpool are in at the moment, Jurgen Klopp's probably got more players than most on travels with their international teams as well. For the UEFA Nations League that you alluded to there, for a lot of the bigger sides, it isn't really seen as that important a competition, it has to be said. The 55 European nations all take part. For the smaller ones, certainly, the competition does provide an alternative route to make it to the European Championship in 2020. But for the bigger sides, it's little more really than a fixture list of friendlies. Their real focus will be on the qualification campaign proper for the Euros next year. So I agree that it's difficult that players go away at this point in the season, but for the bigger sides at least, an international break, I don't think they will view these matches as really anything more than friendlies, and therefore hopefully not too competitive and there won't be too many injuries. Certainly for the players from smaller nations, they have something to prove. It might be that they're able to play their way into contention for starting 11s across the Premier League.
Let's talk then about the games in the UEFA Nations League to look forward to, and which games will be high on your agenda.
I think the one that stands out certainly for us here in England is the Croatia against England game. It will be played behind closed doors tonight, but it's obviously a repeat of that World Cup semi-final, which Croatia managed to win dramatically in extra time, didn't they, at the World Cup in Russia a few months ago. Another side who reached the semi-finals, Belgium. It'll be interesting to see how they get on against Switzerland. And 2 former greats, really, based on current form at least. Netherlands against Germany on Saturday night. Netherlands, obviously one of the greatest teams historically across Europe. Germany won the World Cup 4 years ago, but got knocked out in the group stages in Russia a few months ago. It'll be interesting to see how those teams play that one out tomorrow. And as we said, it's interesting to see how some of the smaller nations will get on in the UEFA Nations League. They really do view this as an important competition for them to give them a chance to be in the European Championship in 2020. Let's see how the minnows San Marino, Andorra, Luxembourg and Kosovo get on.
Finally, no Black Stars participating in the weekend's 2019 AFCON qualifiers. But no less interesting games spread across the continent with opportunity for some teams to qualify. Who will you be watching?
Yes, as you say, Ghana not in action. It's been an eventful week, hasn't it, for all those involved in that match against Sierra Leone to see whether or not it will be played or postponed. And now, as you say, those back-to-back qualifiers have now been called off. I'm interested to see how the 5 African teams who got in to the World Cup in the summer will get on. They all had quite a disappointing campaign. So it'll be interesting to see how Morocco get on when they play Comoros, how Senegal will get on in their match against Sudan. Tunisia, of course, will also hope to be really strengthening their position at the top of their group when they play Niger. Will Mo Salah be back in form for his match when he plays for Egypt against Swaziland? And we'll see how Nigeria get on against Libya as well.
Live on radio, live online, this is The Locker Room with George Addo Jr.
All right, so let's talk about the UEFA Nations League, because we know club competitions played throughout the year garner more attention than, today's international friendlies. That's a fact, right? There's a heated debate regarding how players should balance their time between both sets of matches. Now, for some club managers like Jurgen Klopp, international friendlies seem like an unnecessary and dangerous distraction, putting their players at risk of injury. On the other hand, the international managers also argue that the national teams need more time to play together to prepare for major tournaments. So the proposed UEFA Nations League puts more purpose to European friendlies, if you ask me, played between the World Cup and the Euro tournament. So let's take a closer look at all of this that's happening, because we've had Joachim Low on that side say we need this so much. Jurgen Klopp say I don't need this so much. In the studio, I've got 3 gentlemen joining me. Safo Bafo Jima, how are you doing this afternoon?
I'm doing fine, George.
And it's good to have you, Riku Ampofu too.
Yeah, excellent to have you.
On such a great day. Hope to see you at Touch and Bonfire Night. And of course, Raymond Yamado invited to the event as well. How are you doing this afternoon?
I'm very well, George.
So where do we start from right now? I mean, Riku, maybe you should take the first one now. Do we agree then that the format of the UEFA Nations League makes the international scene and games even more competitive than what it's supposed to be?
Well, George, you look at the format for the UEFA Nations League, and it features promotion and relegation, and all 55 European nations are involved, and they've been divided into 4 leagues in accordance to UEFA's National Association coefficient rankings, which were released on 11th October 2017. And League A, of course, includes the top-ranked teams, whilst League D includes the worst teams. But I do think it's really competitive and very necessary, because when the national associations and coaches met and were in consultation with UEFA, you realize that they revealed that they felt the need for friendly matches not being providing enough adequate and sporting competition, and the UEFA Nations League, it created a more meaningful and competitive matches for teams and a dedicated calendar and structure for national team football. Now you look at the angle from the supporters and the fans too, and what you see is that the supporters also realize that most friendly matches fail to deliver competitive and meaningful football, and now they have the opportunity to see their teams playing more competitive games and take part in a new competition and get a second chance to also qualify for a major tournament. So all in all, it's a very competitive tournament which provides enough competition for the players and also some things for the fans to chew on.
Okay, that's good. Good, really. I mean, and good to set this all for us now in terms of foundational basis to do something here. And so, Jima, look, let me ask you this, because do you then agree? He's looking at me now. Oh, Raymond, you are still smiling because you want to attack already. But why? Why do you want to attack now? Club managers, are they right to be even concerned about the kind of competition that these players have to go through after playing, club football and all? And we know that, especially for Europe, there is World Cup and there is the Euros. Now, in between World Cup and Euros, they're placing a very competitive competition in there.
I think they have every right to be concerned. For me, for now, as it is now, a player like Harry Kane, there are serious concerns about his form, considering the fact that he hasn't scored as many goals as he did last season. Already, he is the only main man for England in terms of their striking options, with Jamie Vardy deciding to quit national duty. And there is an emerging trend in Europe, George. If you look at the games which were played by especially the elite clubs in Europe before the international break between the 6th and the 11th, you realize that for a side like Liverpool, for instance, and for most teams who sent out about 4-5 players on international duty for the European Nations League, their fortunes have changed in terms of their results. For Liverpool, for instance, before the 6th of September, when they went on the international break, they had won 4 consecutive games in the Premier League.
Yeah.
When they returned back from the international break, Liverpool had played 7 games. They had won only 3 against the likes of Spurs, PSG and Southampton. They had drawn 2 of those games against Chelsea and Man City, and they had lost 2 against Chelsea and Napoli. So Liverpool coming back from the international break with players like Joe Gomez, Virgil van Dijk, Andy Robertson, Jordan Henderson, Gini Wijnaldum, and Xherdan Shaqiri, almost about 5 players on international duty. They struggled. For a side like Real Madrid, for instance, who before the international break had won 4 of their first 3 games and had lost against Atletico Madrid, they had players like Isco, Asensio, Ceballos, Bale, Courtois, Sergio Ramos, Luka Modric, Toni Kroos, playing for the likes of Germany, the likes of Wales,
in the UEFA Nations League.
And when they came back from the international break, Madrid had played 7 games. They had won 2 of them against Roma and Espanyol. They had drawn 2 against Bilbao and Atletico Bilbao, as well as Atletico Madrid, and they had lost 3 against Sevilla.
Aren't you picking and choosing though?
Against Sevilla, CSK, and Alaves. A side like Barcelona, for instance, you would argue that Marc-Andre ter Stegen, Thomas Vermaelen, Umtiti, Rakitic, and Busquets, especially for Vermaelen and ter Stegen, they didn't start their games for Germany and Belgium. But the fact that you have other players South Americans like the chap who left to Liverpool for Coutinho, traveling long distances to the States to play. You realize that they are form.
But what I want to point out there is, aren't you just picking and choosing? And can we
clearly
say that it's because
side.
of what they're doing at international level? Because they have been playing some international games. Even some have come from Euros, and they got things working.
These are elite teams who are playing domestic competitions, the Champions League, the Europa League. But you have sides like Bournemouth, for instance. If you look at the case of Bournemouth, Bournemouth, for instance, had only 4 players on international duty. Yeah. These were Ryan Fraser, who went to Scotland, Nathan Ake, who went to Holland, Joshua King, who played for Norway, and as well as David Brooks, who played for Wales. Yeah. These were 4 players, only 4 players from Bournemouth. Prior to the international break, Bournemouth had played 5 games. They had won 3 of them. They had drawn 1 and they had lost 1. But immediately after international break, among the almost about the 24 players in their squad, only 4 of them. 4 of them went on international break.
You're making I'll come back to you on how you can give me evidence and how, telling me that this is why they are not playing well. There's so many reasons why players don't do well at club level, including coach tactics, including not dealing with the position and all. But Raymond, let me come to you. Why would you say putting this competition together and teams to play at a certain level? Yes, we make some money, but make it even more sensible. Everybody should play and play at a level. Why would you say this is not good enough?
Well, George, I think that this tournament is supposed to replace friendly matches, and they called it meaningless friendly matches. And you look at what they used to call meaningless friendly matches, and it always gave the chance to coaches to look at other players for their teams. It gave coaches the chance to try other players that haven't been given a look in, in major competitions, and that's crucially what friendly matches are supposed to be for. And so it gives you the chance to allow some of your players to rest, some of your top-class players to rest. And that really will be the reason why most teams would even say they don't need their key players from big teams. They should just stay and rest. Rest is important in football. And crucially, this tournament only puts a lot more pressure on players playing for some of the top teams, especially the A-leagues. If you look at France, Germany, and the likes, they have lots of players playing in world-class teams. And these are teams that are very competitive. They play in more than 3 competitions every season. They play in the Champions League, they play in the league, they play in cup matches domestically, and that alone has a toll on the players. Now, expecting these players to come out during international friendly days to play another competitive match puts a lot of pressure on the players. And you look at Jurgen Klopp crying, and he's talking about the fact that most of his players had just 2 weeks of rest after the World Cup. Now, these players have to quickly return to England and train with the team, have pre-season, and start playing the new season. Most of these players, for me, would be burnt out. You look at Harry Kane, for instance, he's struggling this season.
But nobody has forced the national team coaches to use the best players. Nobody has forced the national team coaches to use your Sadio Mane and use your best players.
You look at the format of this competition.
Because the competition is qualifying.
George, you look at the format of this competition. For a country like Italy didn't appear at the World Cup.
Yes.
Italy are definitely struggling. You look at the poor performances they are recording in this tournament already. There's a lot of pressure on Mancini and the players themselves. Yeah. That in itself, puts a lot of pressure on the coach. If Germany go into games and fail to win, if France go into games and fail to win, there's definitely a lot of pressure on the players and the coaches, because everybody is expecting France to deliver. Everybody is expecting Germany to deliver. These are top teams and there's a lot of expectation from them. Coaches cannot go in there and play French players.
So, let me come to you, Rick. What's your argument? What would you say to what the two have said in terms of saying that, look, this is putting just too much pressure on everyone? And of course, like Klopp was making the point, even the players will get injured because they're coming in hard tackles. They want to qualify, the Minos.
Well, I think what UEFA have done brilliantly is the fact that they've matched equally put our sides together. And you look at the likes of Ligue A, you realize that teams such as Italy, Portugal, Spain, England, they are all in a group where they are with teams which they can match. You look at the lower class groups that has Scotland, Albania, Israel, Hungary, and the likes. They can match each other. And now you look at the reason for that. The reason is that you see lower ranking teams they usually struggle against the big sides in the previous friendly games that we used to see. And now what really do they learn from losing? There's no balance in those matches. So now when you play against sides that you are quote unquote equal to, you have a chance of winning and a chance to also learn. And also on the issue of stress, you realize that UEFA is always keen to preserve the balance between club and international football. And now the new competition should, in fact, reduce the demands on players and clubs because they actually travel less for the matches because they are staying within Europe. And now they'll be playing more consistently with the fixed calendar. No need to stress and go and get a new friend. You know who you are playing 6 months from now.
You know my next question. Should we keep it? Should we scrap it? You really have no. I mean, should it? Because I'm thinking that Africa would love to follow suit. Not too long. I'm sure some yes. The other just we think about that. But before that, let's do what we can control. There will be games anyway this weekend. Here's Moses Yeboah.
International football fans will be treated to another heavyweight clash in the UEFA Nations League as the Netherlands take on Germany on Saturday. Both sides return to action in the Nations League, having both already taken on current world champions France, with the Netherlands losing as Germany drawing. After the meeting between these two sides on Saturday, the Netherlands face Belgium in a friendly, while Germany will have another go as the defending world champions face France in the Nations League. England travelled east to Croatia in a repeat of one of this year's World Cup semi-finals. On paper, this seems like a difficult time for the Three Lions, but Croatia will have to play this match with no home supporters due to a fan racism incident back in 2015. Both countries are without a point in the UEFA Nations League so far and will be desperately looking to get on the board in the inaugural season of this competition. This is a fixture with important history, and England will be looking to improve on their poor record against the Croats on Friday night. Belgium will be aiming to take control of their group when they welcome Switzerland on Friday. Roberto Martinez's men won their opening match 3-0 away to Iceland, but are still second as their guests thrashed the same opposition 6-0 in their first group game. Czech Republic have seen a couple of disappointing performances in September as they fell victim to Ukraine and struggled to bounce with a thrashing 5-1 loss to Russia, now looking to recuperate and cause an upset in neighboring
players, because for France like this, France don't want to relegate it, so they would have to use the likes of Pogba and Kante.
So should be scrapped.
There will be serious concerns for Mourinho and Sarri.
Should be scrapped.
I think it should be kept for two reasons. One, because middle ranked and smaller nations will have an extra way to qualify for the Euro competitions, and two, associations and teams would benefit from the clarity of the fixture calendar, and there's now a clear buffer between the end of the UEFA Euro and the FIFA World Cup, as well as a stability
I think
in
it
income.
should be scrapped because next year, in 2019, they are going to play the Euro qualifiers, and we are not going to see France, Germany paired in the same group. We are going to see Germany paired with San Marino, Greece, and
San Marino
that's what's going to happen.
So no point.
And so no point. This doesn't really cure that mischief of big teams and small.
Thank you very much, guys. That's it for the locker room, which won't be scrapped. News will not be scrapped as well. Ernest is standing by with the news.